up? Thank you for watching this video. I am Brian Williams, resident coffee nerd, coffee lover, and coffee roaster here at GRC. We are in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. It's a very small market of about 10,000 people in this town. So I'm trying to put this podcast together because we've been facing our customers through brick and mortar since 2016. I've been roasting coffee since like 2006. One thing that I've always noticed is that we've got a tremendous amount of very interesting, very awesome people that live here in the Wyoming Valley. And a lot of them happen to be our customers. We're in a really small area too, so I think the number of people that have amazing abilities, the general average is way higher in this region than it is anywhere else that I've been, and I've been all over the country. So I wanted to start introducing everybody to each other. I wanted to also take this time to introduce myself since I'll be doing the podcast going forward. My name's Brian. My wife Sarah and I own Grateful Roast Coffee. We have 2 locations currently. One, our main brick and mortar here in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. And we have a second store in Clark Summit where we just do a coffee menu and some local pastries. So I moved here in 2000 with Sarah. Sarah grew up here in the area, and I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I went to high school out there, graduated, stopped going to school in 1998. I moved out of my parents' house kind of young, and pretty quickly got priced out of my neighborhood. I didn't really have any skills, so to speak, wasn't able to make money, enough money that was needed to be able to support yourself. I didn't really have too much of a future in Portland, so I left in 2000 and traveled the country. I followed the band Phish around the country for a while, and basically sold grilled cheese sandwiches and bottles of beer to fund my way across the country, and kind of discovered that on this planet you're capable of doing pretty much anything you want to do, just as long as you know that, I guess. But anyways, I met Sarah in Hershey, Pennsylvania. She was a friend of a mutual friend of ours, and we were in Hershey to kind of pick her up, and she was going to come traveling with us. And just right off the bat, I just fell for her. She was amazing, as amazing then as she is now. And it was pretty cool because we were able to travel, getting to know each other. We went out west, we stayed in California, we camped in the redwoods. We did a lot of camping and shows. She met my family. We stayed in Portland for a little bit. Basically, we spent every day together and every night together, traveling the country together, and really got to know each other and fell in love with each other really, really, really deeply. So anyways, moved here in 2000. Then my daughter was born in 2002, and then my son was born in 2005. So yeah, we spent most of those early days raising babies, babies raising babies. And my mom took a heart attack, and Sarah's mom came down with cancer, and we both lost our mothers within months of each other. It was a pretty horrible time of our life. And then she had also lost her stepfather at that time. The foundation that we had here in the area raising our kids kind of evaporated from underneath our feet crazy fast and tragically. So with both of us pretty deep in a depression, but having made up our minds to really want to do something for ourselves, primarily roast coffee, because at this time I had my coffee roaster that I was roasting on my sun porch. We decided that we were going to go ahead and push forward with the coffee shop, and I was going to roast coffee, she was going to make food, and we were going to really bring something to the area that kind of was lacking at that point in time. Shout out to Northern Light and Electric City in Scranton. You guys were up there killing it. We had IBOP, which was in downtown Wilkes-Barre. They did a really good coffee program, but they had horrible parking, and they just didn't get the exposure that they needed. So we found this space that opened up right by LCC, and there was a for rent sign in the window. So I called the number on the window and set up a meeting with the owner and talked about ideas, and he agreed to rent to us. So I ended up signing the lease. I cashed in a good portion of my 401k. I took out a loan for my 401k that I had going at the company I was working with. Sarah put her notice in at her job, And her father and I built that cafe. Like every morning I would wake up, I'd get the kids to school, then I'd go to the cafe and I'd work there until about 11:30 so I could get to my job by noon. I'd get out of there about 8:30, sometimes 9:30, 10:30 at night. I'd get home, sleep, get up and do the same thing until we were open, which was awesome. When we opened, the reception that we received was amazing. Lots of people that had never really known that coffee was more than just, comes in a can and you fill up your artificial creamer and sugar at the gas station coffee. Like, we expose people to like awesome coffee, and I've got people that started out drinking the schwilliest of schwills and now they're like looking forward to my latest releases. And then finally I was able to leave my job and we just dove in head first, and we've been struggling to keep our heads above water ever since. So we signed the initial lease for 5 years, and I thought it was pretty smart to get a nice lease rent locked in for 5 years. I did not plan on the landlords being so American, and after the 5 years we were just unable to stay there. We couldn't work it out with the landlord. So we were kind of in a spot, because that's like right when COVID was like in full swing. Our lease ran up. We were allowed to like stay after, I think we were there for like 6 months after our lease had expired, just because COVID had kind of pushed everything around. Sarah and I were in Scranton. I forget what we were up there for, but I was following her around Target, as I often find myself doing. I was looking at Craigslist for nearby commercial properties, because what else are you going to do when you're walking through the women's clothing section with your wife? And I saw the space in Clark Summit had opened up, and so I called the number and left a message there in Target, and the woman called me back, and it just fell together, and we were able to, we signed the lease in Clark Summit and started building out right as we were closing in Nanticoke. And I was about to move my coffee roaster to a warehouse so I could roast coffee, to keep the only brick and mortar that we had at that time in Clark Summit flush with coffee so I could continue the business. And then I got a phone call from a realtor that I was kind of working with, that this space had come available. So I think this was like maybe 3 months after I had signed the lease in Clark Summit, and was already like pretty built out there, working towards the build out. The Nanticoke space open. And this used to be an urgent care, so I'm sitting right now in what used to be the reception area. There's my espresso machine behind me is where the one of the examination rooms were. Again, it was just Sarah and I and my father-in-law, who is an electrician by trade, doing all the work, really. Like, we had some help with contractors that were with the building, knocking up some walls and everything, but yeah, I can't underestimate the amount of pure forced energy it takes to make one of these things. And it's cool because I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So anyways, after a lot of effort and setbacks, we finally were able to open up our cafe here in Nanticoke again, for our front-facing business. And so now we're here, we're serving coffee 6 days a week. We have our cafe in Clark Summit open 7 days a week. We have some awesome wholesale accounts that are buying coffee off us and serving it to their customers, and we have a great coffee program here in-house. We get great coffee from all over the world, and I do my best to present it to you guys the best I can. And part of the goal of this podcast, of course, is to market our business a little bit more, try to sell some more bags of coffee, but it's also about marketing the region and the businesses that we work with, and the people that we see day to day. And it's just it's a good way to get more people familiar with the awesome things that we have to offer. So I'm releasing this with 2 other podcasts, both interviews. One of the interviews is with my best friend Jeff Davison, who along with his wife and family, they own Oscar Smith Carpet Cleaning Company, and they've been in business longer than I think Abraham Lincoln was, back in those days. And then my other homie Mike, who is snowboard, skateboard rat, and is an amazing engineer, and he's making a whole lot of awesome, interesting things. And I enjoy learning about both of these fellows, and I think you probably will enjoy them too. So thanks for tuning in.